Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to a discussion about the United States House elections for this year. And this is kind of a little bit weird for me because I don't normally do House elections because I think they're, for the most part, a little too fluky, a little wacky, and just kind of not where not exactly where I would anticipate. You get some really weird results sometimes. Um, Generally speaking, the seats that I've left as toss up are seats that I would view as competitive. Most of them are seats that flipped in 2018 during the midterms. One of them is currently held by Justin Amash, who is not running for re-election and is a libertarian. The other exception is North Carolina, which is they've had to change their map. They've had to change their congressional districts because Voting Rights Act. That's why. Now we're going to go from west to east, and we're going to start in Washington, where surprisingly there is actually a competitive seat, and this is kind of in the mountains and the Cascades, but kind of extends to some Seattle suburbs in this area. And this is a fairly swingy seat, but I really don't think Trump is going to help, so I'm going to call that one for the Democrats. In California, there's maybe some slight ground for the Republicans. They're probably, I think, going to hold on to the seat they won in the special election earlier this year. I'm not sure they're going to pick up anything else, however, because at the end of the day, California is not a state that is trending in the Republicans' favor. Then we go to Utah, where there's actually a fairly competitive seat, and that is held by Ben McAdams. However, the Republicans probably have one of the better candidates this cycle, running to take the seat back in Burgess Owens. And I'm actually expecting that to be a pickup. So anything that is going to be a pickup for one of the parties, I'm going to actually highlight here. Then we go to Arizona. Now, if Trump wins this state, I expect the 2nd Congressional District to return to Republicans. As it stands, the race in general is definitely toss-up, but who knows? Not just the seat, but the whole state is kind of a toss-up. I'm not sure. I really don't. I think Trump wins Arizona by 1 or 2, maybe 3 points, but that's about the ceiling. Who knows if the coattails are long enough for the Republican candidate to win this, but I'm going to go ahead and say that yes, that can be won. We haven't had a lot of polls out of New Mexico, House or presidential. Torres Small from the 2nd Congressional District in New Mexico, she flipped that just barely in 2018, and I think Republicans, if they just get presidential election year turnout, I think they can win this district. I'm going to go ahead and give it to them, but it is extremely difficult to beat an incumbent, even one who only barely won in a wave year in favor of her party. This race in Colorado, I'm going to err on the side of giving it to the Democrats. It flipped, and Colorado isn't getting more friendly for the president. Now we go to Texas, where there's 3 races that I would view as reasonably competitive. One is for the seat that Will Hurd is vacating, Texas 23rd. And a lot of people think this can go to the Democrats, and it should be a competitive seat. I wouldn't be too shocked if Will Hurd loses. So I'm going to go ahead or not Will Hurd, but I forget who his. I'm going to go ahead and actually give the Democrats this one. Then we go to the Houston suburbs, and I'm not sure that this is going to be ripe ground for a Republican pickup. And similar thing here in the Dallas suburbs, this seat. So now let's go to Oklahoma, where I really think this was Oklahoma 5th. That was just that was a fluke, honestly, in my opinion. Some people view both of these Kansas House seats as competitive. I really only view this one as competitive, and I'm gonna actually give this one to the incumbent here in Kansas City. And then we go to Nebraska, where the 2018 loser has won renomination in a presidential election year. That is not going to change. Just way too far to the left. Now we go to Iowa, which is one of... I've seen polling showing all races in the state competitive. I've seen polling showing it being 2-2. The numbers are just... Iowa is a very swingy state. If Trump wins by 10 points, I really could see the Republicans winning, 3 of 4. I'm not sure if all 4 are possible, but I'm going to go ahead and say that, that 2 seats are competitive and that the Republicans get 1 out of here. Now, Minnesota is the weird one. Because, well, as you can see, 4 seats flipped, but it was a net gain of nothing for either party in Minnesota. So that's a slight correction from what I talked about in Minnesota. But it definitely had potential for the Republicans to actually gain seats in Minnesota. And it was one of only 2 states where a Republican did flip a seat held by Democrats. Now, the thing is, this race has been held by the same Democrat for a long time, and it's a district that voted heavily for Trump. And it's probably going to do that again. I really could see this district in Minnesota flipping. As for the other seats, I'm skeptical any of them are going to flip. Maybe this seat here. But I'm going to go ahead and say that that the Republicans can net a seat in Minnesota. Wisconsin is so heavily gerrymandered, I really genuinely don't see any room for improvement for either party. Maybe this district here that used to be Paul Ryan's could flip, but I don't think so. I don't really see anything changing in Illinois, nor do I see the St. Louis suburb in Missouri flipping. And let's go to Michigan. I think the Republicans are going to hold Amash's seat, and I'm skeptical. Well, if Trump wins, these 2 seats could flip back to the Republicans. If he doesn't, well, they're going to stay. Let's go down to the Deep South and talk about Florida. And we've got 2 seats here. Both are near Miami. Both of them were actually held by Republicans, or won by Republicans in 2016, lost to Democrats in 2018. One of them is the Cuban neighborhoods of Miami, and a lot of polling indicates that Trump has improved with Florida Hispanics, especially with the Cuban population, and they are almost certainly going to vote for the Republicans down ballot in this election. So, and I don't see anything that wouldn't indicate the Republicans making some net gains in the exurbs and Keys. I really could see the Republicans getting a net gain there. Now, as for this Georgia seat, this is in kind of the DeKalb area, but also but the Republican part of DeKalb County, the very northern part. And there's a few other bits and pieces hung off. This, if I remember correctly, was is that Georgia 6 or Georgia 5? Trying to remember the maps here is a little bit weird, but this is kind of Atlanta suburbs, and I could see it going both ways. I'm going to leave it as a Dem seat. South Carolina, I believe this was 1. South Carolina 1. That was kind of another surprise win for the Democrats in 2018, in my opinion. And I could see it flipping back to the Republican Party. Now let's move on to North Carolina. And Reality is, I don't think we have enough to figure out North Carolina. But we do know the general areas. So I'm actually going to move this off just to look at it. Make sure I get it. This is the Charlotte district. I think that's going to remain in the hands of the Democrats. Now, Winston-Salem, these are actually two districts that could flip to the Democrats. I actually slightly think that, well, I'm pretty certain that district is going to be Democratic. This district could be competitive, so I'll come back to that one. I'm fairly certain about that district. Yeah, that one. This one's probably going to stay Republican. Probably going to go, or not stay, but go Republican. And then the Outer Banks district. So North Carolina could have a competitive map. I'll come back. Let's go ahead and figure those out. I'm going to go ahead and say there, and we're going to go there. So that seems reasonable to me for North Carolina. Now let's go to Virginia, where there's really only 3 or 4, 1, 2, 3 districts that are truly competitive. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. And all 3 were won by Democrats in 2018 after being held by Republicans. This is Virginia 10, formerly held by Barbara Comstock, and I don't think Trump's coattails, to the extent that he has them in Virginia, are going to help. I generally like Nick Freitas, who's running in Virginia 7, which is this district. However, I'm not sure he can beat Spamberger, but he's probably the best candidate to do it. And he's probably the best Republican to run for statewide office. I'm going to leave it there for now. And I'm going to say that this seat actually flips back, Virginia's 2nd, flips back to Donald Trump. Or not Donald Trump, but the Republicans in this election. I can honestly see it flipping back. Now let's go to Pennsylvania, which has a few competitive districts. And this district is, if I remember correctly, yes, occupied by a Republican, and this one by a Democrat. And I can see it staying that way, but I could also see the Republicans flipping this district right here. As for up here, Republican currently sits in this district, which includes pretty much Bucks County and a few other areas. I'm not so sure that can stay. I really could see that flipping, and I could see these 2 remaining Democratic as well, and this one remaining Democratic. However, this district right here, I could actually see flipping to the Republicans, but I'm going to leave it the same. I'm going to leave it. Now let's go to New Jersey, where we have this district held by a Republican who was actually a Democrat when he ran. He just changed parties. And I messed that up. There we go. However, that was a competitive seat. I could see the Republicans taking that one back, but I'm not going to do it. Same with those 2 districts. And that does put Democrats in the majority in the House. I can see the Republicans retaking Staten Island. And at least one of those rural districts in New York. I don't see them taking this seat in Connecticut, but I could see it being reasonably competitive. As for New Hampshire, it really just depends on what part of the state the Republicans do better in. New Hampshire might be competitive. It might not be competitive. We don't know. I'm going to leave both of these seats in the hands of Democrats. However, I wouldn't be shocked if the Republicans take back Maine's second. Donald Trump is currently polling fairly well there. And I wouldn't be surprised with a House map that looks like this on Election Day. There are a few seats I could see going both directions that I have projected to flip or to even stay with the same party. Quite a few seats I have that I'm projecting to go to Republicans, I really could see going to the Democrats. Arizona second, New Mexico second, this district of Minnesota, Maine here, Virginia 2, and at least one of these two districts here in Florida. I could see Texas 23 staying with the Republicans. And, yeah. Now, what would a Republican path to a majority look like? Well, it starts with winning the seats that I've already marked off. And I'm just going to do solid colors from now on. I just wanted to, show you the flips. I'm not going to touch North Carolina just because North Carolina is going to be a mess anyway. It's going to start with Virginia 7, I think. That's a prime pickup location. Iowa, that district. Probably that district. Not that one. Certainly those two districts in Michigan. And then then you have to start looking for some of the tougher pickups. At least one New Hampshire district. I'm just going to pick one at random. This district here in New York, and actually that puts the Republicans at the majority. Probably at least one or two districts in New Jersey. Holding there, maybe taking one district in Pennsylvania there. And this is where it starts getting, to massive stretches of can they really take those districts? Certainly one argument could be made for, just winning back ground that they lost. But I really don't see a large change, honestly. I'm not even going to touch California because their districts are a nightmare. I can maybe see an argument for this being an absolute max for Republicans. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end it there. So I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Take it easy. By the way, likes, comments, subscriptions always do help. I have Twitter. If you go to my channel page, I actually have a link to it somewhere. In the description, there's going to be a link to my election model as well as my Patreon page. We're like 3 or 4 subscribers away from 500, and if we reach 500 before I go live tomorrow late in the evening, I'm going to go ahead and do a question and answer live stream where I basically just look at the chat and I answer whatever questions you have while I'm doing whatever. I don't know. Probably political process, considering I stopped that short to play Campaign Trail because everybody wanted me to. So that'll be fun. I would love to celebrate that tomorrow. And then keep on going through and see what I can get by the end of the year. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Take it easy. Bye-bye.